One of the biggest things with wanting.
What is up, fantasy people? This is the True North Fantasy Pod. You are back, and we are presented by Monkey Knife Fight. Of course, we are a part of the wonderful Fantasy Points Media Group. We're at fantasypoints.com. You can get 10% off this year's subscription with our promo code 21TrueNorth10. Fantasypoints.com is a great resource, so make sure you go check that out. As always, co-hosting and West Coasting. Ty, we're pre-recording tonight. We're pre-recording. It's a little bit new territory, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Tyrell McLaughlin, of course. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Living the dream. Sorry about the sound effects there to completely ruin the start of the show. I just had to put the hockey game on mute there. It's the Wild in Vegas in a Wild Game 7 there.
Mm-hmm.
So I got that on mute. So if you see me going...
Yeah, something happened.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Catching the game a little bit. And the Blue Jays are just absolutely putting a pounding on Cleveland.
Represent Blue Jays. Good. Actually, Ty, I just saw something in the basement that I really want to show you in a couple of seconds regarding the Blue Jays. And so I'll show you that in a second. But for tonight's show, Ty, like I said, it's a pre-record. This is Friday evening. Should be posted around Saturday, mid-afternoonish, depending on the upload. We're going to do a live best ball tonight, buddy. And in fact, it has just started. So this is a fantasypoints.com best ball tournament on Fanball. One of the best ball 10s, and I'm really excited to get into this with you, buddy, because full disclosure, I am not the best ball expert that you are. I've probably done about 100 best ball drafts in my life, whereas you've probably already done 100, and we are only at the end of May in the off season this year. So I think this is going to be a really cool episode because it's going to, we have varying experience levels here, and I'm going to learn today, Ty. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
You reach, man. I teach.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully I'm not getting taught. Hopefully I'm not getting taught much.
Well, I can't share too much with because we are in the same draft here. But
totally.
It's a fun one to do because these are what you hear, like the GPPs. They're a large entry, multi-entry tournament. So you're competing basically against 2,500 to 3,000 teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe I should lay out the format just so people know what we're doing as we go along. So basically, in this tournament, you're going to fall into a league of 12 guys, just like any other best ball, but you have to basically win that league or get a certain amount of points to move on to the next stage once that commences, which is around week 12 or 13 or something. And then basically you're playing a brand new tournament at that point. So it is a much different format than even your regular best ball tournament. And by the way, if anyone's completely unfamiliar with best ball, you're just drafting a team and walking away. There is no in-season management of any kind. And you're basically just drafting, 2 or 3 quarterbacks, 4 to 7 running backs, 6 to 9 wide receivers, 2 to 3 tight ends. And there's lots of wiggle room. And we're just going to let the early rounds dictate the draft more or less, Trav. And then we'll get into some strategies and stuff as we go along. Because there is a lot of strategies that come along with these bigger tournaments with multiple entries.
Absolutely, man. And I'm excited to get into the mind. We're getting spicy here already, Ty. I made my pick at 104. It went Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, and Saquon Barkley as the top 3. Nothing super surprising there. I have seen Saquon going a little bit later than 3 in different style drafts, but not necessarily best ball drafts. But I'm sure you've seen that in spots.
That's one of the earliest to see him go, yeah.
And then I decided to go for Derrick Henry at 104. My options that I was considering, Ty, you are almost up as well, of course. But as you make there it is. I went Derrick Henry there just because guaranteed double-digit touchdowns over the uncertainty at the quarterback position for Alvin Kamara. And then I was even thinking maybe Jonathan Taylor or Nick Chubb, but I just think the safety at Derrick Henry is really nice. So that's why I went there at 104. At 105, your boy Najee Harris went, which is wild. What do you think about that? Have you seen much of that this offseason so far? And how do you think that's going to pay off for that owner?
No, I saw Kyle Pitts go in the third today. We've been talking about it. We mentioned it with Joe Dolan. That's why we brought it up on our most recent episode that Najee Harris is shooting up boards. I think this is maybe someone doing a little bit of a troll job or whatever. I'm not really sure what they're doing, but because there's not really a lot of like team building aspect to taking a Najee Harris at the 5th overall pick. So clearly just going out to get his guy. Maybe this is the one where you screenshot it and send your buddy that before you send him a trade. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, an interesting pick to say the least. So I have literally 2 of my top 3 wide receivers available here. I took Travis Kelce in the first round. So it looks like I am going down the path of a 0 RB build here. Because if you notice, it went Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, Cam Akers. So these running backs just flew off the board.
13 running backs in the first 15 picks.
Now, there is a complex here where I think Antonio Gibson, I could definitely put Clyde Edwards-Helaire in that conversation, but there is some guys who are clear teardrops at the running back position. But I also think Stephon Diggs and A.J. Brown are that big of an advantage at the wide receiver position. So I am going to take Stephon Diggs. Very nice. I essentially have, in my opinion, Travis Kelce is a very much somebody I'm already a fan of in the first round as Patrick Mahomes goes. I guess I won't be making that stack.
No shit. Top of the second.
I did this identical tournament earlier in the day, one of these best ball tournaments, and the Fantasy Points Championship ones. I took Travis Kelce in the 8th spot, and I took Patrick Mahomes in the 4th round. So I made that stack.
Wow, that's really nice value on Mahomes at the 4th. Even like, and
it's
I think he's an early 3rd rounder kind of thing, probably.
And it's kind of a cardinal sin going early tight end, early quarterback. But last year it actually yielded really high win rates, way above average. So it's nice. Kind of surprising, but I think it was interesting how I had to attack this draft because I could have gone with Antonio Gibson or even Clyde Edwards-Helaire that early, just looking at the ADP there. And I can't take my eyes off the ADP here, Trav, because we have Kyle Pitts in the 2nd round and
I am on the clock.
And Patrick Mahomes.
So I'm on the clock here, and I really liked what you were saying there when you were talking about Diggs and AJ Brown, and I was thankful that you went for Stephon Diggs because
you're lucky.
You left the AJ Brown, Derrick Henry stack. This is working out swimmingly for me because we saw that big run of running backs, and then we saw you take Stephon Diggs. Devontae Adams went 2 picks later, but I think the fact that Patrick Mahomes and Kyle Pitts in the 2nd round went before my AJ Brown pick really allowed him to fall to me. So I was very thankful for that. I have Henry and AJ Brown.
And now nobody else is going to have that team. Like that is honestly a really sensational team to start with because there is going to be a very, very, very low percentage of teams in this tournament. Even if there's 10,000 teams, they're not going to find a lot of teams that were able to land Derrick Henry and AJ Brown, especially as AJ Brown becomes a universal top 5 wide receiver in best ball rankings.
For sure, man. He's up there. I think I have him as my redraft wide receiver 6. So probably right around there. Yeah, nice. I like that. I think like the target share has got to be massive for him. There's no choice. Josh Reynolds is the only other like viable wide receiver option. Anthony Ferkser is a great tight end option late too, I think. So
and I just think like whatever we say about
there.
Yeah, and whatever we say about this offense, I think like AJ Brown is going to really command a lot of the high leverage work, whether it's deep targets, downfield, 50-50 balls, and end zone targets. So I think he definitely has a lot of room to because I've been worried about regression for him, obviously, but I think if he commands 30% of the target share there, he is going to have a floor and a ceiling.
Yeah.
So I like George Kittle in the 3rd round.
I do.
Pretty
After
amazing
Kyle
as the
Pitts
tight
is
end
pretty
4.
wild. Yeah. Totally. That is that's pretty nutty.
An early tight end is just like a phenomenal win rate as it is, but I think you're definitely forcing that if you're taking Kyle Pitts in round 2.
And I am not going to force that, Ty, because I'm going to take Darren Waller in the 3rd round to give myself that positional advantage there, as well as the monopoly on the Tennessee offense. I am thrilled about this start, my man.
I think I have a fucking auto drafter in front of me. That is not fair.
That's pretty hurting.
I'm really hoping. So I have a lot of options as I'm 3 picks away here. I could start to dip my toe into the running back pool here with Antonio Gibson. If he falls to me, I think I'm stealing Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, I had him on my queue for that last pick.
Yeah, so I also have DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders, and obviously I have no running back right now. But I also have Michael Thomas and Allen Robinson, who mark the end of this next tier for me. I also could start looking at things like the fact that I believe CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper are still on the board. So I could look to try and add both of those players and then come back in the fifth and try and get Dak Prescott. Obviously, we don't love trying to grab a Dak Prescott when we already have a Travis Kelce, which is why I'm probably not going to go that path. But I do think the Cowboys are an interesting passing game that you could very much build. And if you had Ezekiel Elliott on your team from round one, you can pretty much build that entire offense in Dallas that we expect to be a top 5-10 unit.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's just an incredible team to have, because you could have multiple of those wide receivers be starters for your best ball roster in any given week, right? So you're not just monopolizing the best guy in that offense, you're getting the best guy in that offense from any week when you stack that, plus potentially the second best.
You are on deck.
All right, you're on deck.
Yeah! You are up.
So
you got them.
There's a couple of picks that surprised me. Jamar Chase at the 3-5 is extremely early. And I recorded a live best ball. Maybe I'll put it out after this one or something from earlier today, the one where I did do the Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes stack. And I passed on Jamar Chase in like the 5th round, like a weirdo. But T. Higgins went before him in that draft. And it was funny because we just had Bry Guy give his hot take that T. Higgins is actually the wide receiver to own in Cincinnati last night.
I like that, man.
I don't mind it either, because before the draft, what were we talking about, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I was watching that show last night with you guys, and I hopped in the comments there, and I was just thinking to myself while I was listening, I think, like, I'm kind of starting to think that T. Higgins might have, like, the most defined role there as the big kind of outside red zone target. I know Tyler Boyd's is very defined with being in the slot, but I think Jamar Chase brings versatility to the offense that T. Higgins doesn't bring. Like, they're not going to put T. Higgins in the slot, but I could see them putting Jamar Chase in the slot, which I don't know if that necessarily takes Tyler Boyd's snaps because they play a lot of 11 personnel. But I don't know, because like Jamar Chase is one of those wide receivers that probably should just be used everywhere in the formation because he's that good after the catch, good in contested situations. So it's such a puzzler to try and figure out how that's going to shake out, because T. Higgins looked like he was on his way to being a top 12 wide receiver, man.
Agreed. So I have a tough decision here just because I have only one running back. I have only one wide receiver. These are the kind of things that happen when you add a Travis Kelce early. So it feels like you want to try and force a running back here just because Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs, Mike Davis, Kareem Hunt, Myles Gaskin. These are running backs that I'd be interested in this range. But the wide receivers are so attractive. And I think I'm going to make like CeeDee Lamb and Robert Woods are the clear guys I'm choosing between here. I think I'm going to go Robert Woods just because as much as I love Stephon Diggs, there's a little bit of volatility that you think of when you think of him, especially before his Buffalo Bills explosion. So I just feel like I want to build a little bit more stability in there with Robert Woods, who I think is just so locked into a certain amount of targets. And I just think he also could harness that upside that comes with Matthew Stafford being added to this offense because of what he's able to do that maybe someone like Cooper Kupp is not able to do.
Yeah.
And furthermore, I could maybe look to try and land a Cooper Kupp in the 5th round, who's much more likely to fall than a Robert Woods or CeeDee Lamb.
I like that. I think that's a really slick little stack of those two wide receivers, because we were talking about it a little bit earlier today. And one thing that we were just on the phone shooting the shit, but we were talking about how their red zone passing volume could go up, which I think that bodes well for Cooper Kupp as well as for Robert Woods, who showed some more red zone prowess last year. So I think that's really a really nice little stack, and I'm expecting a really good bounce back. And I'm going to throw Cooper Kupp in the entire True North team's face when he bounces back. It's going to be awesome.
Well, it's a pretty cheap stack to be able to try and land, especially if you're getting Robert Woods in the 4th. But
especially with wide receiver 1 upside, right? You don't have to take either of them in the first 2 rounds, but I think they both have wide receiver 1 upside potentially, man. I am on the clock here, by the way.
Honestly, we're both just comfortable wide receiver 2s too. Cooper Kupp like on the lower end
sure.
of that spectrum.
That's low end, right?
The ceiling, yeah.
And then 10 touchdowns, you got yourself a wide receiver 1. This is a really tricky one, Ty, because I really like to go wide receiver heavy, but I'm going to actually go with the guy who Never mind, because he just went. Okay. Damn it. I was thinking Mike Evans, hoping he got back to me because I'm really liking that value there. But then now I'm going to pivot. Oh, man, I'm not like thrilled about this one, but I think there is a lot of pass catching upside, which I think complements Derrick Henry, and that is Travis Etienne. I like the situation for him. I don't think he's going to play as a wide receiver. I think he will end up settling into 10 to 15 carries per, along with all of that pass catching work that we kind of expect him to get in the Urban Meyer offense. But I was looking at Urban Meyer the past 3 years when he was in Ohio State, ran the ball over 40 times a game. And I understand in college, it's definitely a little bit easier to get by and dominate with that heavier run scheme. But I think that's going to be what he wants to do, especially early in Trevor Lawrence's career, while he insulates the kid and lets him get acclimated to being able to take over the offense and put it on his shoulders.
I agree with that.
Kareem Hunt going right after Travis Etienne.
Yeah, he's usually going to go before. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like Kareem Hunt.
Thinking about going Kareem Hunt, I do see the upside there. I could see him as a top 15 running back. I have him inside my top 20 for 2021 right now. But I don't know. I was just kind of jumping on that Travis Etienne upside. Godwin goes after that.
Minnesota
I was actually
tied it up. Minnesota tied it up.
Very good.
Kirill the Thrill.
I was curious, Ty, as to why you weren't potentially thinking Mike Evans at that Robert Woods pick, because you said Robert Woods and CeeDee Lamb, I think. Wonder why Evans doesn't come into play in the same tier as those guys.
Yeah, I think I am a little bit lower on Buccaneers wide receivers or skill players in general, which is unfortunate because in this specific format, they're actually a team you might want to put your finger on to identify as one to target or tie to, because they actually have a phenomenal late season strength of schedule. And that's actually something that is normally a very noisy topic, but it's something that we factor in pretty heavily in these kind of big tournaments. But with that said, I worry about Arians not necessarily learning something last year through the playoffs, but him and Brady together is interesting to me because we find that they are implementing a game plan more in certain games, if you will. We especially saw that during the playoffs where they're comfortable running the ball if the matchup calls for it. They're comfortable dumping it off short if the matchup calls for it. And Mike Evans is a player that I love from a real life standpoint, but I also think he's a hard player to figure out from an analytical standpoint because of touchdown regression and the stickiness of those. And, the connection that he's clearly formed with Tom Brady and the chemistry is undeniable, but I just have a hard time banking on the touchdowns. And because of how good I think Chris Godwin is, I think you are more or less drafting a fairly touchdown dependent wide receiver as your wide receiver too.
Yeah, no, I like that. I'm just I think for me, it's obviously the potential for the touchdowns because Brady was throwing some nice fade balls to Evans last year in the red zone. And I think if I'm attaching to anybody in that passing game for 2021, I think it is Evans over Godwin this year for me.
I do have Evans slightly over Godwin in redraft. Yeah. I'm
on the clock here, Ty, and I am going to draft DJ Moore to go alongside AJ Brown. I like that passing offense in Carolina, so I wanted to get a piece of that. And I think he was kind of a tier break for me among the wide receivers that were left. So some of the guys that are left are Deontay Johnson, Kenny Golladay, Brandon Ayuk, Tyler Lockett, T. Higgins. And I just think that DJ Moore with Sam Darnold, who I think is going to provide some better quarterback play. I think I say think, I don't say I know, because it's a really hard one to.
And let me even preface it by saying we got 3 top 30 wide receivers there last year with terrible quarterback play. So it's like, I'm a fan of these Carolina wide receivers, and I hate Teddy, and I hate Sam Darnold even more.
For sure. And I think it opens up some affordable stack opportunities later too, right? Because you could go a little bit deep with this offense, even getting into like David Moore. Terrace Marshall obviously is there. I think they'll probably slow play him to start.
Well, I've read some interesting stuff. Robbie Anderson was apparently being shopped during the NFL draft, if you believe Charlie Campbell of Walter Football. So that I thought was an interesting story because it really lends to the side that Terrace Marshall is the long-term running mate for DJ Moore. And they definitely like Terrace Marshall. I love Terrace Marshall, but yeah, like what you're getting at is that he has to get healthy before he can beat out even a David Moore in camp.
Yeah, for sure. And I just think those guys will be really like a nice price to add, and I won't have to reach and get teached, you know what I'm saying? Like that Cooper Cup pick, you did end up getting the stack. Sorry if I'm making a bunch of noise here. I got a Nutri-Grain bar. I skipped dinner tonight.
I hear that, yeah. Nutri-Grain bar. What kind?
My dinner is a bunch of the kids' snacks. So I had one of their like regular granola bars just a second ago. They've got these little like banana chocolate chip loaves. So I had one of those, and now I've got a raspberry Nutri-Grain bar. So that is the dinner of champions. And
the taste buds, they call that.
Probably have a late night bowl of apple cinnamon Cheerios tonight.
Whoa.
That's my jam. I actually have Lucky Charms too, so maybe I'll just get a little wild with it.
You have what? Also have what?
Lucky Charms.
You mean Lucky Charms?
That's what I said.
Yeah, why are you saying Lucky Charms?
Lucky Charms.
Yeah, there we go. That's better.
Wow. Fucking English class.
It sounded weird. It just sounded weird. It's like Steven used to call a commercial, and it just sounded weird. It was so weird. Do you see that commercial?
Oh yeah, I like the wrong emphasis. Yeah, I don't know. I think I was kind of on the fence. It wasn't like
it's not Goldman. There's no gold man.
But if you're the leprechaun at the pot of gold, be Lucky Charms, you know. You know,
that's a good point. That's
That's how he says it. So we are wrong. In fact,
no, I'm definitely wrong on this one.
We'll get you some Lucky Charms, Ty.
Shit, I just got sniped. Like these are all great values, by the way, because I took Cooper Kupp there, and then Tyler Lockett, Kenny Golladay, Brendan Ayuk at the end of the 5th, and then Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson are just great values in the 6th. So now I have a tough decision because I really wanted to grab that 4th wide receiver, that really strong wide receiver, because I think a big mistake people do with modified zero running back is go in too early back at the running back position. They start diving in. But Myles Gaskin is such a great value right now. Yeah. Chase Edmonds is a really good value right now. So it comes down to... It's interesting
that you say that, because I was kind of thinking with my ETN pick that I might be going back to the well a little bit early. But I just wanted to make sure I got another one there. But I like that. I'm starting to get a little bit better at like not feeling like yeah.
Well, I think we talked about it with Joe Dolan, right? Like he was saying that a lot of drafts you're coming away from, you are a little bit underwhelmed with your running back position, but that's very natural when you get into hit rates and you talk about that running back dead zone, and you talk about how drafting a running back in the 5th round is pretty much as likely to yield a 200 fantasy point score as drafting a running back in the 8th round. So literally, why would you draft a running back in the 5th round? You know what I mean? So
good point.
A lot of those things come into play for me, especially because the inverse of that is that wide receivers are also hitting at a phenomenal rate in that exact same part of the draft. And you think about the picks I made with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, they are just pretty safe picks that you know are going to be wide receiver 2s. And that's another reason that I made those picks. And that's what I'm saying with my Myles Gaskin pick, that I know I might regret that when I look back at my wide receiver room. And I'm a little bit thinner than I would like to be when I could have added like a T. Higgins, a DJ Chark, a Chase Claypool, these guys who have a lot of upside, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm really betting on Stephon Diggs being that elite wide receiver again on this team. Like you kind of have to make those concessions when you take somebody in that draft. Like you can't think about what if Stephon Diggs isn't that guy. You're literally operating under the assumption that he is that guy, because if he isn't, you've probably already lost this tournament where you're competing against a billion people. Yeah,
for sure. Mark Andrews went, another tight end off the board.
These are still like the 6th round. It's funny how in the past we've sometimes disliked this range of the draft, but actually really like this range of the draft this year.
Chase Edmonds, Claypool, Herb Kidd with my pick here. So I'm on the board here. I've got Derrick Henry and Travis Etienne at running back, DJ Moore and AJ Brown at wide receiver, and I got Darren Waller as my tight end. I have a okay.
And you'd probably have to take Robbie Anderson here, just for the record. You probably wouldn't land him in the 7th, in my opinion. And see, that's another reason that maybe I should have gone another way, because the wide receivers I'm looking at next pick are going to be like a Tyler Boyd and Juju that I'm hoping for, and those are not the type of wide receivers I really want to add into this. Okay,
so I went for a quarterback.
I see that,
because he was last. He was the last of the upside running quarterbacks. and I wanted to take one because I think a run could potentially start coming with these other guys.
Well, I think
I could eat my words on that one.
Well, I would just say that, like, from an ADP standpoint, you'll see Russell Wilson go where you just took Jalen Hurts. Like, he'll go where Justin Herbert goes-ish. And usually Jalen Hurts won't go for another round or two. Like, he usually starts that next tier before you see the Aaron Rodgers and stuff go, for sure.
Right.
And I think it's interesting
that I'm learning today, right? And that's kind of the benefit. Ty, sorry to cut you off there, dude. I think that's the benefit to doing as many drafts as you do. And you've told me from day one that don't do mock drafts, do cheap best balls, because you're getting way more accurate ADPs as you watch the draft unfold, because these people are sharp that have been doing drafts for a couple of months now. And this is for profit, right? Mock drafts, people will fuck around. You don't want that in drafts where you're trying to get information to get an edge and see where these guys are going to go. So I think that's, a huge benefit to doing this, Ty.
And 6'9" isn't
what you preach.
Well, and 6'9" isn't like super early or anything. Like, if you took him in the 7th round, nobody's batting an eyelash. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
And it's just that, the ADPs, when you look at him, he's just not a top 80 guy where Russell Wilson is. Yeah.
So I'm on the clock, and Robbie Anderson did make it back around to me, so I am going to take him.
Nice.
I like that. I thought about maybe going elsewhere and maybe stacking like David Moore and Terrace Marshall later, but I think those guys are going to be a lot more sporadic, and could potentially have their floor is very low, basically, right? Like, they have wide ranges of outcome. You just made a face because Trey Sermon just went in the 7th round at
somebody I always get in the 8th. What the hell? But that makes me happy that I did take Myles Gaskin, especially when, dude, I'm going to land T. Higgins, DJ Chark, or Cortland Sutton. I'm very happy with whoever I land there. And I know I just don't have very much Cortland Sutton, and these are the kind of the formats that I do end up reaching on guys I don't have as much of. Because, you're always like, even if you screw up a draft, you can try and start to build an outside the box range of outcomes, you know what I mean, that nobody's going to have. Think of like your classic DFS Millie Maker. So the question is DJ Chark or T. Higgins. The interesting thing about DJ Chark is you can start to build that Jaguars team if you want to. With DJ Chark, with Laviska Shenault is the guy you might want to avoid in that mix. But it would be more interesting if I had Travis Etienne. Travis. I
was thinking about DJ Chark there too. Like I like DJ Chark over Robbie Anderson, but I think that stack factor is just what I wanted to get a piece of.
Dude, like, the Panthers had 3 wide receivers or more on the field, like 70% of the time last year. They were top 5 in receiving yards from the wide receiver position, over 200 yards per game from the wide receiver position in Carolina. 3 top 30 wide receivers. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
So and then they got Higgins, just because I think he has more upside than DJ Chark. Like, I think he's not even more upside, so to speak, but I think he's going to be the guy who's going to score a touchdown or 2 in this week. He's going to have a big 50-yard catch this week. So I think he's the guy who ends up plugging into my lineup a lot more. And I am very much anticipating that my flex spot needs to come from my wide receiver position on this team build. Yeah.
DJ Chark went right after. And I think you're right in that pick. Because with T. Higgins, I was talking about earlier how his role is very, very defined. Like, I think he does one thing and he does it really good. And yes, Jamar Chase can do some of the things that T. Higgins can do. I'm not doubting that by any means. But I think as far as DJ Chark goes, he's got Marvin Jones, who legitimately plays the exact same style, go up in the air, get those downfield targets and red zone work. And that's what we want from DJ Chark. So I think that, like, Marvin Jones sitting there to potentially take 50% of what we want for DJ Chark was a little bit making me hesitant on Chark. So I like that Higgins pick.
I came into the offseason like pretty hesitant on him.
Hollywood Brown goes in the 7th round there.
Yeah, that's pretty early. Early. But I am excited to see what happens in the slot in Baltimore during training camp.
Lots of options, man. They had lots of options last year.
Yeah, but Willie Snead was the guy who ended up playing a lot in there, and he gone.
To the Raiders.
Cortland Sutton at
Willie Snead in the Raiders.
So do you think this guy thinks he's stacking the Broncos here? Because that would be genius. Aaron Rodgers and Cortland Sutton.
That's right, good call. Dallas Goedert
Yeah, and I was thinking that's somebody that you probably would have been interested in with Jalen Hurts on your team.
Yeah, I do have Darren Waller there.
Oh, that's correct. Yes.
So
I have a really interesting one here, talk about reaches and stuff, just because if I wanted to add Matthew Stafford to Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, I would really be hard pressed to not do it right here, because asking him to come back to the late 9th is a very tough ask. And in addition to that, I've also bypassed that range of the draft where I want to be grabbing that quarterback, whether it was Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson, where they went, whether it was, Russell Wilson, who I think was a value in this draft. So I have a tough decision. I am going to reach on Matthew Stafford here. And it's ironic because I'm really not a fan of Matthew Stafford this season for fantasy necessarily, paying off that 9th round ADP. So to take him in the 8th round at the Eric Lindros pick seems a little... tongue in cheek for what I've been preaching all off season, but I do, there's just a lot of reasons to do that, whether it's this being a big tournament and me building something that I don't think is going to happen, which is not a bad way to go about it. So I'm just happy to have Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods, because there is some uncertainty in that Rams offense going forward. But I think the 3 people we have the most confidence in are those 3 guys, whereas Cam Akers, I still think, has a range of outcomes. Like, I do think, Cam Akers is the most valuable piece in that offense for fantasy, but he could be the easiest guy to whiff on his ADP, or at least not pay off his ADP, I should say. Michael Carter.
So I am going to add another running back here. Definitely some risk in this one, especially with the backfield that he comes from. But you know that I've been loving this dude since last offseason, Ty, and that is Damien Harris. I just think he ends up being the starter. Graham Barfield was on a live best ball, and I think it was the cut line with the NFFC. Check that out on the Fantasy Points YouTube channel, because Graham did an awesome job. And he was talking about how there's a real possibility that Sony Michel gets cut this year because Ramondre Stevenson looks to be an indictment on Sony Michel. So yeah, Ty, I'm curious as to what you think about that backfield, and if you think my Damien Harris love is going to start to pay off or what.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky just because you're not getting that pass catching upside unless Mac Jones comes in and plays at quarterback. So it's just such a nuanced conversation along with that. But you're getting him so late, and he's a Patriots running back. So I've never been against drafting Patriots running backs past the 5th round, and you're getting the top, arguably the top back in the 8th round. So, it's hard to argue against that. I don't know if Sony gets cut. I always am a little scared saying guys are going to get cut, because I've been saying about Jimmy Graham all offseason. I've been saying about Jamison Crowder, and it just doesn't. I said it about Gio all year last year. Like, it just doesn't seem to happen a lot of the times. And New England is a backfield that, dresses 3 to 4 guys every week. And I know the thing about Sony is he doesn't contribute on special teams or anything like that. He enters the final year of his contract. So it's possible. I just don't know if that happens. And I think, I don't know how much that would affect Damien Harris anyways, but I definitely think Ramondre Stevenson might affect Damien Harris, because I don't know why else they would spend the capital they spent on Ramondre Stevenson if for no other reason than to use him at the goal line, because he is fucking massive.
He plays some special teams too.
Yeah, and I'm a massive
special teams too.
Yeah, he's a big boy. His skills will translate. Yeah.
And it'll be interesting with who's at quarterback, because I think if you have Cam Newton, then with Ramondre Stevenson and Cam Newton, you could have almost a monopoly on the goal line carries for that team, right? Whereas if it's Mac Jones, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out, because maybe they want some more running back pass catching or what have you. This pick's going to be really interesting for me, Ty. I'm excited to get on the clock here and see if it comes back. I'm going to do, if it happens, I'm going to do something. I want you to tell me what you might do in that situation, or whether you would have even done it, or what, you know what I mean? So
Ryan,
I don't think it's, yeah, exactly. Like, I wonder, because I'm thinking about it and taking Jalen Hurts 2 rounds ago. Like, did I fuck up in taking Jalen Hurts? But then I'm thinking, now I'm thinking this team can just be a 2 quarterback build. Yeah. Potentially. And
but that's why I think it's risky, because that's one thing that I don't love about Hurts. I think that might be literally the one reason that he's not in that tier with the Justin Herbert, is because there is a small risk that come the end of the season, they're trying to play for a tank job. You know what I mean? We saw that this year in a very aggressive fashion where they pulled Hurts right in the final game to lose. So I just think it's tough because there's a lot of things that can work against Hurts this year.
For sure.
But I do think he's the guy I kind of putting my finger on from that offense. There's no doubt that he's going to score as a top 10 quarterback so long as he plays a lot of games this year.
So we just saw Devante Smith go, who is obviously looking to be Jalen Hurts' number 1 wide receiver. I was thinking it was either Ryan Tannehill or Devante Smith.
Yeah.
If you're me, would you have prioritized the Titans stack, or do you think you would have gone Devante Smith in that pick to get that Eagles stack?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because both of those teams might be bottom 5 in terms of pass volume overall. So I think that's one thing to note. But sorry, I just got to make a pick really quick.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. No, dude. No, it's all good.
Because I'm just trying to decide if I want to kind of go with a Buffalo build here and add a Cole Beasley to this team, but with a Cooper Kupp, with a Robert Woods. Do I like that? So I think I'm going to go a little bit off the board in a little bit of a sense. So I'll go Michael Pittman. Like, if you guys love Wentz, why does everyone not love Pittman? What's going on here? So what did you ask me?
Don't sleep on TY either. And I just wanted to point out, because I was looking at Cole Beasley, his ADP is 132. So you might still be able to come back around and get him.
No, but I want Tyler Higbee here. I want Tyler Higbee here because I have Stafford, I have Woods, I have Kupp. So I kind of want to.
You will have literally Higbee, all of the passing touchdowns.
And I don't need to touch tight end after that as well. And a lot of people do wait too long. If they add a Travis Kelce, you should still be trying to add a top 15 tight end.
For sure.
The hit rates really bear that out. So your question I thought was really interesting just because they are two of the lower volume passing games that I anticipate we'll see in 2021. But you are either way getting the quarterback one and the wide receiver one, I think, in that stack. The thing is, you're getting such a more obvious wide receiver one and AJ Brown, obviously, like a guy who can really monopolize that offense. Like, he really embodies a wide receiver one alpha. Whereas Devante Smith is just going to be the guy who plays the most snaps outside. So, it's a tough one because if I'm Philly, I don't even love that he's playing outside. It's kind of the Hollywood thing we talked about in his rookie year. Like, we'd prefer if he was in the slot. He can do a lot of what you're expecting him to do outside from the slot. So that's interesting because him and Jalen Hurts will have to like develop that chemistry, or else I think it will be a lot of Dallas Goedert, a lot of Miles, like just a lot of maybe shorter targets.
Easy shit. Yeah.
And I have a feeling they're going to manufacture shit. I was going to take him too there because there was so many wide receivers I was comfortable with. But I do really I kind of wanted Michael Pittman or Curtis Samuel was the other guy I was looking at there. And he's also still on the board. And then Michael Gallup was the other guy who's ranked the highest on my list right now. So, pretty interesting. And I think when I have Travis Kelce, maybe somebody like Robert Tonyan becomes a little bit more interesting where he's not usually available at this point of the draft. And I'm not usually looking at him there. But the other guy is I might go back in on quarterback here because I do have a pretty clear plan at quarterback. Like, I want to make sure that I get a Justin Fields or somebody like that at some point in this draft. So I think I might do that right here, not Justin Fields, but I'll take a different rookie quarterback at the Peaches and Cream pick here.
Peaches and Cream.
What was the other one by 112? They had some good ones with like rappers and stuff, but the other one they got really famous for, like School Dance style. It was Dance something, Dance for Me or something. It was good.
Okay,
Won't you dance for me? Peaches. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of Peaches and Cream. Damn it.
Maybe, yeah. Let me see.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go Trevor Lawrence here. Yeah, it is done. It is decided.
It is done.
So still just 2 running backs on my team. I am really not gonna like my running backs on this team.
I have 3. I have Derrick Henry, Travis Etienne, and Damien Harris.
And if I wanted to add running backs there, I definitely could have with Gus Edwards. I have Tony Pollard pretty high on my rankings here. Nyheim Hines builds in some safety, so you can like take a lot of shots like on your last couple running backs. Because after that, I'm getting into like Darrell Williams is my next highest ranked guy. Tariq Cohen, Darrell Henderson, James White, those kind of guys.
Hard yikes there.
And a motley crew for my collection of backup running backs here. You can see Laviska Shenault going later and later, as we predicted immediately upon the draft of Travis Etienne.
Is there Deshaun Watson going in the 10th round there?
That's early, yeah. Wow. But this format, like, you might want to throw that kind of thing out of the window. You know what I mean? Like, this might be a format where somebody wants to just draft Deshaun Watson in a 3-quarterback build. Maybe, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because you think of a couple of years ago, there was some like people placing in these tournaments, because it is a payout structure, like a poker tournament, right? So a lot of people who were placing had Tyreek Hill in their lineups. In a lot of big tournaments, if we remember, there was that risk that he might get suspended and all that. So who are you taking?
This is really fucking interesting, man. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna take Corey Davis here.
Cody.
I just think he's one of the guys that's on the board that projects to be the wide receiver 1 on his team. A couple other options there. I thought a little bit about running back, but I think I'm at the point where I can wait a little bit and get some guys that can give me some pop-off value, because I'm kind of happy with the guys that I have up top right now. You're right. Michael Gallup goes right after Corey Davis.
Yeah, Michael Gallup is a steal at the end of the 10th. Like, you think about guys who, like, at this point of the draft, me with Cole Beasley, that argument I would make is that Cole Beasley might score 10 to 12 PPR points every single week of the season in that offense, but he might plug into your lineup less as your wide receiver 5 with those scores than a Michael Gallup who plugs in 5 or 6 times with 15 to 25 point weeks. So as
a wide receiver 2+. Yeah. And like, I'm thinking about that offense, and you were talking about how the Carolina offense gave us 3 top 30 wide receivers. I think about Dallas as like that, but supercharged. You know what I mean? Not scheme wise, not like player, like
but
player comparison, just
scoring.
production outlook. Exactly.
Yeah.
Same
true in Buffalo, Cincinnati. There's a lot of these teams who are literally heaping 70% of their volume, their market share, and even more of their high leverage volumes, the air yards and the touchdown end zone passes to the wide receiver position. And that's definitely the ones we're targeting for fantasy. And that's why I was entertaining, because had I added Cole Beasley there, I could be looking at Gabriel Davis in the 11th or 12th round. And then I'm looking at Emmanuel Sanders at the end of the draft. And I have all 4 of those Buffalo wide receivers, and you're going to get spiked weeks from those motherfuckers.
For sure. We saw Cole Beasley go just now.
Oh, I'm getting killed here because I know I just keep getting murdered at the running back position. Like, it just hasn't come my way, you know what I mean? And the tight end position as well. Every time I identify a tight end that would be a good fit as my tight end too, he has flown off the board. And that was not on cue. The guy who just went off the board wasn't interested at all. Sorry, Jimbo.
Yeah,
I think I want the other Smith on the board here, Jonnu, over him still. Darnell Mooney. I like Darnell Mooney. I don't have enough Darnell Mooney. So what's your quarterback situation? You have
I just stacked Jalen Reagor with Jalen Hurts.
Nice. Slot wide receiver. You know, if they wanted a slot wide receiver, they should have just taken Justin Jefferson, eh?
You're a dick.
That was me. Me saying like,
whoa.
What?
Chuba Hubbard in the 11th?
Oh, wow. So who did
what happened there?
Yeah,
it's not the CMC owner, obviously.
No,
the CMC went at 1.
That's the guy who took Najee at 5th at 5 overall. Though.
It is. Michael Carter also in the 8th. Yeah. Interesting build.
Smashed values on Judy and Curtis Samuel. He also the guy who took Kyle Pitts in the 2nd. He went Najee, Kyle Pitts.
That's right.
Jamar Chase.
Holy shit.
And he took Joe Burrow in like the 7th round or in the 8th round because I was thinking of that.
Mike D is the elder statesman there, whipping those young boys around.
Yeah, that's wild. Like, I really don't know how somebody can be right on Chuba. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're saying that Chuba's going to have a big season, that's got to be like the worst process ever.
Well, you're basically predicting an injury for Christian McCaffrey, like a season-long injury. But we will take it as fellow participants.
Well, and I just think people have we haven't. I think this could be a very clear example of a GM making a pick that a head coach just doesn't know why he made that pick.
Mm-hmm.
So I really am going to be mad if I lose out on Justin Fields in this draft. I don't want those guys. Trey Lance I would take, but I really don't want to lose out on Justin Fields. I'm not going to take him here because I'm going to take Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards is so palatable right here in the 11th round for me. Like, I'm not a big Gus Edwards
He's at the top
fan.
of my running back queue right now.
Yeah, and it's because
ain't no mo.
with Antonio Gibson on my team, with Myles Gaskin on my team, I think I have two exceptional pass catchers. I have Antonio Gibson, who's locked into pass catching work. Myles Gaskin, who I think will retain that role in that Miami Dolphins offense for whatever that's worth. So it makes Gus Edwards even all the more manageable to add into this offense, because the only knock that he comes with really for his price is that he really isn't going to give you those pass catching totals. But I think, knowing that I'm going to be just asking for guys to plug into my lineup from the rest of these guys I draft at the running back position, I'm kind of more than happy with how that worked out.
Yeah. There goes Carson Wentz.
Yeah, come on. I need Fields here. I need Fields.
Nice.
You are up.
So maybe a little bit early. I don't have a ton of Fields, though, and I really, really like Justin
And
Fields.
you're done at quarterback now.
Yeah, I have 3 quarterbacks now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I am like a big fan of 3 quarterbacks in this kind of format as well, just because I want to make sure that I'm getting like those 30 to 35 point weeks just firing from my quarterback position if possible.
Sure.
And I also think the rookie quarterbacks are much more appealing in this format where, it does basically start a new tournament for the playoffs in this kind of tournament where you're just playing a points only against a bunch of teams. So these rookies are probably at that point doing more than they were early on in the season, basically. So I think they become a little bit more attractive in this kind of format.
Right.
And not picking till the end of the 13th. I just like Trey Lance, I think, is just a lot more difficult to be certain that he's going to be in there early. Like, I think it's hard to say that Garoppolo is not a bigger impediment than Andy Dalton.
Darrell Henderson went.
Yeah, I had him actually pretty high on my list.
Yeah, he was pretty up there for me too, man.
We got the other guy from Memphis still on the board, who's the highest running back on my list here. It's funny, Darrell Henderson and him go right around each other, and they were 2 guys that just, they were just the shiftiest motherfuckers coming out of Memphis ever. And that would be Devin Singletary. Devin Single.
Do you mean Kenneth Gainwell?
Oh, Kenneth Gainwell. That's right. That's right. He exists. Damn it.
Well, you're talking about the Memphis running backs. Singletary didn't go to Memphis.
Oh, he didn't? I thought he
went to Florida Atlantic.
Oh, weird.
With Lane Kiffin.
That's right. That's right. Why was
I am on the clock, and since you spoke of him, I'm going Devin Singletary, bud.
Oh, yeah.
I think he
reverse
could be the guy.
Folks, works every time.
Reverse physiology, Rick. Yeah, I think he could be the guy who gets the first and second down carries in between the 20s, And I think like Devin Singletary is
catching over Zach Moss last year. That surprised me.
For sure. And he had 40 plus receptions, or might have been targets, I believe, but more than what I kind of expected out of one for one guy to get. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think he's the guy who can give them those big plays in this offense, which as it just continues to open up with Dable and Josh Allen, I think there could be some better lanes for Singletary. So if I'm in the 12th round, I can take that. No problem.
Yeah. And apparently Singletary knows his lanes.
Got to scroll the draft board up in this
I
Evan Ingram, I like that too. I was thinking of targeting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I still need to add a second tight end at some point.
As do I, sir. As do I.
Oh, really? Who's your top tight end? Just Darren Waller. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Waller Bills,
nice.
Yeah. Waller Bills.
So we should not be talking about tight ends.
Yeah, no.
Because I don't want you to
We're fighting.
Me.
We're fighting now.
To snipe you.
Yeah, I should probably just stack.
It's so late.
I don't know.
I think I'm taking Gronk.
I fucking like him.
The problem with Gronk is that I only find myself entertaining him when I get to this point. I haven't added a second tight end, and it's like, do you trust Gronk to be Travis Kelce's replacement come week 12? You know what I mean? For his bye week, and it's like that. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Gronk's not that
on the
old.
clock.
Like, Gronk is like 1 year older than Logan Thomas.
For sure. That's nuts. Fucking burn. Okay, so I have...
Ooh, that's who I'm
Okay.
going to draft as my second tight end. Okay.
I'm actually pivoting to wide receiver. Oh, now you said you know who you're drafting as your second tight end, and there's somebody that I want to come back to in the next round, and I don't want it to be this guy that you take. Fuck, Ty.
Well, you're like 15 picks away, so I'd be worried about more than me.
I know, but
Anthony Firks is still there, dude. I'm not taking him. Don't worry.
Okay. That's the guy. You're taking him.
Ty. I was looking at him in this round, but kinda.
I like
Cornell Powell.
What the fuck?
That's crazy. That's gotta be Najee, buddy.
That's Najee, dude.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Fugly Old is his name. Fugly Team is his name. Oh, Rashad Penny. Oh, dude, that thing that I was gonna show you, the fucking Blue Jays thing.
Oh, what? That's dope. Bullpen jacket. That's sweet.
Yeah, man. It's probably like your size though, because it's very small for me.
Nice. Hook it up.
Yeah, no doubt I should.
Gabriel Davis, I think, because I have.
That's a nice little stizzack. Gabriel Davis was actually first on the team in deep targets last year.
That is cool.
So you basically have all of them with Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis.
One thing is I'm really sacrificing running back. If I pass on a specific running back, and it's interesting because I have the quarterback and Alexander Madison. Like, these are running backs I should probably be adding right now. But if I add a sixth wide receiver here, I probably only have to add one more, and I'm going to get that tight end I'm waiting on in this round coming up. And I might even wait. I might even not take that tight end.
That was my philosophy in that last round, is I was just gonna.
Who was the tight end you were talking about? I'm looking.
It
at
was
Cole
Ferguson.
Kmet.
It was.
Was
Ferguson.
it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going Cole Kmet.
And I just know that you've been kind of on
Fields.
Ferguson as being like I know that you've been kind of on him as being a sneaky top 12 option for this year.
No, I think he's a bust.
Do you? I thought you.
Well,
I think
he's like. I think he's going to be everybody's late round tight end. He kind of is when you hear podcasts and stuff, and then you do best ball drafts, and he's like literally tight end 22 off the board because, I think people like myself who dig into this stuff are really worried about where does he play. He plays mostly in the slot when he's played in the past, so he is just not an inline tight end. So he's just not a blocking tight end. So I don't know how he really fits into this offense, and I worry that he might not be on the field very often.
Yeah.
And tight ends who are on the field 70% of the time or more are a lot more rare than people think. And I think he might be one of those guys who fails to hit that threshold. But having said that, he's technically my highest ranked player right now for tight ends. But there's 3 tight ends I like more than him, and I take over him every single time. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have very much Ferkser, because I also want to keep seeing where he's going, because sometimes he goes in like the 15th round. Sometimes he doesn't go to the end of the draft.
Well, that's what I'm curious too. We got the 14th round here.
But he's such a buzzy player. I bet on Underdog, FFPC with the tight end premium. I bet those leagues he's going much higher than Fanball.
For sure. We're moseying through this draft, buddy?
Yeah, it's fine. Pretty good. Are we at an hour yet?
We are at 53 minutes.
Nice. Yeah, that's not bad at all. Man. Keeping them under.
Thanks to anybody who's been kicking it with us. We really, really appreciate that. This has been pretty fun. Ty, I'm going to let you contemplate your pick, and I'm just going to let the people know that if they want to go dig into some of the best data, some of the best content from the sharpest minds in the industry, go to fantasypoints.com. We are a part of the Fantasy Points Media Group, who is just an incredible team. Ben is kind of their behind the scenes guy. And he does a ton of work. I can't thank that guy enough for everything that he does. And if you listen to any of the Fantasy Points live streams, all of those guys that work over there will say the exact same thing about Ben. So it's been really cool connecting with the team. We've had a bunch of their guys on the podcast, and that's been a ton of fun. And if you want to go check out all of their content, go to fantasypoints.com, 21 True North 10 is the promo code, and that'll get you 10% off. What I think is probably already one of the best deals on the market without the discount. We can just get you that extra little 10%. Ty, you went Tariq Cohen there with your last pick. I'm on the clock, so I'm going to contemplate a smidgen here. Do you want to talk a little about Tariq the Freak?
Sure, I took him because I have Justin Fields. I actually think Tariq Cohen was kind of a teardrop at the running back position. In terms of guy I could add in and get some pass catching out of, I believe. Yeah, there's some risk that we haven't seen him post injury, but I think like a guy named the Human Joystick, you worry about him being as electric post serious injury. Having said that, I think it's baked into his price more than it even needs to be with people like Cordell Patterson leaving and stuff. I think there's room for volume. I think the other knock on him is how much target share is going to go to the running back position if you have a mobile quarterback like Justin Fields, who also likes to go downfield. But I think having Justin Fields on my team is kind of hedging on either of those range of outcomes playing out. So at this price, I think of him just as a total depth piece at running back. And it just so happens that I think there's a range of outcomes I'm building in by having Justin Fields on this team as well.
Right. I like that. I really like that pick. I went for Rashad Bateman, and I am immediately regretting it with the defenses going off the board here. But I do like in a vacuum. I like it. Ben Roethlisberger going off in the 14th. I think Rashad Bateman could be just the highest targeted Raven this year. They brought him and his profile in for a reason because they didn't necessarily have that on their team. And I'm very curious to see what it does. I saw Matt Harmon said the more and more he digs into it on Twitter, the more he thinks that Rashad Bateman changes the offense. And I was really curious as to whether he meant if because Rashad Bateman's there, they are going to change how they run this offense as far as passing volume, or if his skill set plunked into the volume they already have is going to bring a new element. You know what I mean? So I was really curious to what he meant by that, because I think that's the big question. That's the biggest question is what's this offense going to be like now that
is that realistic? Like thinking that Greg Roman and Lamar Jackson are going to change their tendencies that they've had their entire like it seems kind of ridiculous that they're going to like Lamar attacks the middle of the field because he's not that good at throwing outside the hashes, and he's not good at throwing down the sideline, and the timing wasn't even there with the timing wasn't even there with Hollywood last year. So I think what he brings is a guy who can help in every area of the field. He can help Andrews in the red zone, which they need somebody who can offset that in the red zone. They need somebody who can offset Hollywood in between the 20s. So I think Rashad Bateman just adds a bunch of comfortability for Lamar to be able to have an alternate option on almost every play. But I think Bateman also, like, I don't think he's going to hit the ground like a stud. You know what I mean? Like, I just think there's a lot of risk I think you're inheriting with him, but the upside is the touchdowns, I think.
For sure. So I just saw Sam Darnold go off in the 15th round, and I think that is where that to me is where the Jalen Hurts pick is not looking as good for me, because I have that big stack of Carolina wide receivers, or I have Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore with David Moore and Terrace Marshall still on the board. Now, I actually, and I think you probably would say the same, I would have been better off going elsewhere at the Hurts pick. And then with the Bateman pick, maybe I take Sam Darnold or Anthony Ferkser and then come back around and get the other guy, so that I stack Ferkser with the Tennessee guys as well as Darnold with the Carolina guys. And I really would have liked it if I could have gotten Darnold instead of Hurts and added another position player up in the Jalen Hurts pick.
No, I agree. And I think I'm kind of with you on that, especially in this format where you're not like sticking into rules where you want to have all your quarterbacks on your roster by round 12 or whatever. You're not really abiding by those rules as much in these kind of formats. So, with Trey Lance still on the board too, I definitely would have preferred that. And I think Sam Darnold is a quarterback that we probably should put our finger on when it comes to how many skill players he has going in the top, whatever of ADP. Whereas you think of somebody like Carson Wentz, who has nobody going in, like the only guy is that running back because they're going to run the fucking ball. Like it is really strange to me, but and just like even taking a guy like Derek Carr, players that what their range of outcomes are, you know what I mean? I definitely would prefer to just wait and take a Sam Darnold, because these aren't your number one or number two quarterbacks. These are the guys that you're hoping plug in or experience that high variance season. So you're hitting on that pick in a big way. So just to touch on it, Trav, we saw two defenses go off the board in the 14th round. I do not take defenses in the 14th round. I think there's two defenses that belong in maybe the 15th or 16th round. And I'm not even taking any other defense in that range either. But that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Los Angeles Rams. So the Bucs went in the 14th round as the second defense off the board. They also have a tremendous second half strength of schedule. And then who I took was the Rams in the 15th round. And normally I don't like buying on last year's #1 defense, but I think, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey kind of,
if there's a team to do it with,
yeah,
that defense is fucking tight.
And if they're not going as the #1 defense off the board, I think that's all the more better. And I think the 15th round is where the bottom drop dollar. And like I said, I'm only taking Tampa Bay and the Rams. So that one really fit in my team build there. And speaking of the Rams, I'm going to take an ex-LA Ram, who I got really lucky with landing because he's like the drop down last guy I want to add on a team. And with Travis Kelce, I'm fine if I just have Gerald Everett as my tight end behind him.
Right. So looking at my team, Ty, I have the Carolina stack as well as the Tennessee stack. Both of those teams have the same bye week.
Ooh, yes, I've done that with the Bills and the Cowboys quite often.
Week 13 is looking like it might be an L for old T-Rav.
Ooh, and that is not good because I don't know when the playoff format starts in this one, but it might be week 13 because I probably should have mentioned that with Myles Gaskin or Pittman. Those might be tiebreakers that you pivot away from just because of this format.
I think I'm looking okay though.
Really certain on them. Oh yeah, I don't think bye weeks are going to determine who wins or loses a tournament this big. But yeah, you definitely live and learn for sure. I've learned that it sucks that you can't simultaneously build the Bills and Cowboys because they both have a week 7 bye. And it's funny because we were when I learned that, we had just fucking had that discussion on the podcast about week 7 being the closest thing to a bye-apocalypse this year. With the bye weeks a little more spread out. And we were like, yeah, look at all these offenses. And then sure enough, I just keep building those offenses. Yeah.
God damn it. Okay.
Your boy, carry on.
Went for the my boy. Wow. Baltimore Rays. It's not Amir Abdullah, man.
OJ Howard in the 15th. So I got Gerald Everett after OJ Howard. Wow. And Zach
Daddy.
I'm really happy with Gerald Everett. See, I was thinking maybe I should have gone with Hooper, who's a much safer option, I would say, but
I don't know, man. I think Everett, like with what we've seen out of the tight ends, could have a similar floor to Hooper, and he definitely has a higher ceiling than Hooper.
Yeah, and come week 12, I'm hoping Seattle will have had their bye week. Maybe that's when Shane Waldron really starts to get him involved after he's got his feet wet with the offense. And
you have Travis Kelce too.
Exactly. I just need him for week 12. Yeah.
So do you think you would add a third tight end to that, or are you just going to stick with Kelce?
No,
Never if you drop Stafford at the top?
Yeah.
Is Waller in that tier for you?
Yeah, 100% he is. Yeah. Whereas Kyle Pitts would not be in that tier.
No, fuck no.
Like I definitely want to. And the thing is, like, I'm fine doing 2 tight end builds if you have to. Like you're thinking of it like you're almost punting the position. You know what I mean? So it's harder to do. Like you want to win every position in this one, and that's why I'm really happy with doing a 3 quarterback build. With Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and then having Travis Kelce is giving me an advantage at tight end. And then starting with the Rams there, I'm going to hopefully there's a scenario that I could land a specific thing here as well that would help me out as well. But I'll let you pick first.
Okay.
Yeah, you're picking right in front of Fugly, so you haven't been sniping him. Let's put it that way.
Big Fug Daddy.
Yeah. Unless, you should have took. Whoa, Ramondre, the double New England bangers. So I was just hoping you didn't take a defense because I want 3 top 10 defenses on this team.
And now I'm gonna have to come back and get 3. Like, would you do a 2 defense build?
Well, I think I might concede at that point. Like, if you can't get 3 top 15 defenses, I would almost definitely concede. You know what I mean? And do you have any on your team yet?
I have the Ravens.
Oh, you do have the Ravens. So that's interesting. Like, you're probably safe just going 2.
And there's some defenses I like too.
Yeah, and you're not going to be able to do 3 top 10 ones, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the whole yeah, I gotta go Dolphins. I think the whole the whole thing you hear, there's such an old adage in fantasy football that you take defense last, wait till your last picks. And that's just horrible best ball advice. Like whoever is giving that advice is not playing real best ball leagues. And it really bears out in the hit rates. Like you just don't want to be the last guy taking defenses. And you'll even see in drafts that there'll be 5 to 8 defenses that don't even get drafted because they're just non-factors to a fantasy team.
Right.
So basically you're getting a big advantage if you're able to land 3 top 10 defenses because you are getting this 1Z position, more points at this 1Z position than other teams. But it's also a position that you don't want to overblow, right? And we see that defenses are going to start flying off the board here as we get to the end of the 17th, early 18th. And like when you look at the defenses, Trav, because I have the 49ers, the Chiefs still on my board that I really want to land one of those 2 defenses. The 49ers just have a lot of regression to the mean that we're expecting. But they also have the easiest strength of schedule in all of football, including during the fantasy football playoffs.
They're the next on my list.
The 49ers, yeah. And I think the Chiefs are interesting because the Chiefs scored 135 points on fantasy last year as a defense, and it's because they continue to put people in very disadvantageous positions where they're forced to play comeback, and you're getting those turnovers and you're getting those pick sixes at times and stuff. But you know, once I'm past those 2 teams in particular with the 49ers and Chiefs, I'm definitely a lot less enthralled with the defenses because the Saints are really a team that can take a big step back. Yeah. Especially with that secondary. The Packers are an interesting one, I think, but yeah, you're really in the shit at this point.
The Giants actually were a pretty well improved unit.
Absolutely.
And I think they're going to need that defense to fucking step up, to be honest with you.
I guarantee they're the highest scoring defense from last year left on the board right now. Yeah, they had an extremely good season there. I think they're a really good defense.
Minnesota could be set to bounce back a little bit.
Yep, Minnesota's like not my drop down one. Like Denver's usually that, but we're seeing some weird ADPs in this draft. Like I got really lucky getting the 49ers, I think, in this draft, and I think whoever gets the Chiefs is getting a big value as well.
Sweet.
But why are you on the board? Yeah. Touche.
No, and I needed to get the defense there because I'm sitting in a situation where I'm probably only going to go for 2 defenses. Now, Ty, I wanted to ask you actually, I'm in a situation right now with only 2 picks left where I have 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, and 2 defenses, right? I have 5 running backs and 7 wide receivers. So I'm pretty good as far as numbers there. So like, do you ever have any builds where you have 2, 2, and 2 at quarterback, tight end, and defense? Or do you always have at least 3 of one, maybe 2 of those? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, like it always depends where you're going in on those quarterbacks, where you're going in on these players early in drafts, right? Like if I'm you, I probably would add, like I definitely entertain a Trey Lance at this point. You know what I mean?
That's who is next on my board.
That's me, because I'm definitely on a bit of an island in the industry saying that he is starting day one. I just think that I've already bet that future. And I think worst case scenario, he's in week 7 and by fantasy playoffs, he could be a guy who could be a league winner in 2021.
Totally. And Jalen Hurts is small and he's a runner, so he could be susceptible to getting injured on my team. So I think Trey Lance is a nice mobile quarterback addition.
And the
there.
6.5 win total just scares the shit out of me for the Eagles. I just can't get past that. Like it really worries me that with 3 first-round picks looking down the barrel of that, with 2 or 3 games left in this long, grueling season, that they might subject Jalen Hurts to the bench for no reason other than to get a higher draft pick. So Tevin Coleman, like I have some gross running backs on the board, but I kind of want a guy who might actually give me a little bit of production for some reason.
He's the top running back there in my book. I know that Michael Carter has that upside, but Tevin Coleman knows LaFleur's system and he was brought in there and he looks to me like he's the tops on the depth chart. So I like that.
Yeah, and they said all the right things in the press conference regarding Michael Carter, why they waited till the 4th round, why he was available in the 4th round. They said the whole couldn't believe it, I'm just shocked, blah, blah, blah. They did say all the right things, but the fact that they waited kind of is a signal in itself that they might be comfortable with Tevin Coleman and Ty Johnson and LaMichael P. Ryan if they had to be. But I'm actually not going to do that. I'm going to take Emmanuel Sanders here.
Terrace Marshall went right before you as well, who could have completed my trifecta for the Carolina Panthers. But I
don't really want him at Robbie.
Yeah, I don't think like he is one that I'm going to make sure I prioritize. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if anything, I'm taking Terrace on teams that I'm betting against Robbie Anderson in 2021 right now.
And the Giants were a team that I was considering with my last pick because I think they're the last team who has top 10 defense upside. But they just went. So it now looks like I'll probably just be going with a 2 defense build here. The tight end options are ugly right now, though.
Seattle and the Vikings. Only defenses I'm looking at that I would possibly try and add. Yeah.
The Vikings,
like Seattle,
yeah.
I always think like who just went? The Giants, right? Like they're a team that, they just have such a worse win total than Seattle that it's just so easy to see Seattle scoring more points on defense because of the way that system works in fantasy. You know what I mean? So I definitely think you're kind of just taking shots in the dark when it comes to defenses at this point anyways.
Yeah.
Wayne Gallman, interesting.
Pieces of that San Fran backfield.
And I keep saying Trey Sermon might be the best pass catcher in that backfield. It might be Wayne Gallman.
You are
maybe.
on deck.
I like Brashad Perriman as somebody's last pick. I like Gio Bernard in the 19th. I was looking at him. I might take Tevin Coleman, which I don't like, but I don't really have a lot of other options for my last pick. Like Elijah Mitchell, as we're talking about adding these 49er backs. Salvin Ahmed was a little bit interesting, but it's just not a guy I'm adding to a team that I already have Myles Gaskin, especially in this big format. I want to try and bet on either or of those range of outcomes playing out in these kind of formats. So really just a ugly group. So where did Todd Gurley, who did he meet with?
You are up.
He met with the Lions, of course.
That's right, yes. So I should take Jamar Jefferson. I almost want to take Ty Johnson over Tevin Coleman. You know what I mean? Like my idea here is that I'm betting on a Jets running back. You know what I mean? And I did hint that I wanted a guy who could actually maybe possibly contribute. I wish Darrell Henderson or Darrell Williams was there. He's always there for me.
Darrell
used to hold me.
Jerick McKinnon's there for the.
I know that's what I was looking. That's what made me think of him. Yeah, and then Raymond Calais is another guy I'm looking at. From the Rams, no, I think I'll just go Tevin Coleman. Unfortunately, it is so hard to actually click the draft player button. Tevin Coleman, but I have done it like a Band-Aid. It's easier when you see Chris Herndon go right ahead of you. You're like, okay, Jets are socially acceptable.
Yeah. I can't get roasted worse than the Kyle Pitts and the second guy. Najee Pitts.
We have to, like, when we run our teams down, we should run his down for fun.
Okay, let's do it. Funsies. More defenses continuing to go off the board. I'm not sure what to do here, Ty. The defenses don't really entice me, and I kind of want to just risk it for that biscuit.
Who's your RB1? Who's your RB1?
My RB1's Derrick Henry. I'm doing it, Ty. This is gonna be the grossest thing ever.
Wow, I was gonna say, yeah. So the one thing you don't have to do is add a running back 6, and then you add one who probably doesn't come with pass catching upside. Yeah.
No, but I think with the pass catching upside that I think I already have. I got Travis Etienne and Devin Singletary.
Did he sign with Detroit?
No, he didn't. But I think he's going to go somewhere, and I think he's going to probably lock down some goal line carries. So I just think there's not potential for yardage. There's not potential for receptions. But I think there's that inkling that says that he could fall in for 10 touchdowns potentially. Or even 5, and he would be fine. Kadarius Toney in the last round.
Jack Doyle, Mr. Irrelevant. I love it.
Jackie Dizoil. So we are done, buddy. Okay, so I picked first, so why don't you run your team down first here, Ty?
Okay, I am just on Fugly Old right now.
Oh, yeah.
So I have a 3 quarterback build with Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Fields. I feel like Stafford is kind of in that tier of quarterbacks who could propel themselves to like a QB1 season on the back of passing alone. I also tethered Matthew Stafford to the top wide receivers in Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. Trevor Lawrence, just the guy I'm kind of betting on as a late round quarterback who could have that big blow up season. And Justin Fields is just the guy I think who can add with his legs alone. Anything else he gives me is a bonus and could be a quarterback who is contributing to this team come the very important last few weeks of this tournament. Running backs, Antonio Gibson, Myles Gaskin, Gus Edwards, Tariq Cohen, and Tevin Coleman. Definitely the lightest skill group on my team. Really need Antonio Gibson to pay off, need him to hit in a big way. I kind of need Myles Gaskin too as well. But I'm actually not too disappointed with grabbing Gus Edwards and Tariq Cohen where I got them. So I'm actually happy with how my running back room turned out when I had just Antonio Gibson and Myles Gaskin going into round 11. Stephon Diggs, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Gabriel Davis, Emmanuel Sanders. I really like my wide receivers. Stephon Diggs is paired with Gabriel Davis and Emmanuel Sanders. I think I'm getting the majority of the high leverage passing volume in Buffalo. And Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are paired together. T. Higgins and Michael Pittman just profile in a very similar fashion. They're just big boys who can do it all for their offense. T. Higgins in a very pass-friendly offense. Obviously, getting baked into his price is the risks with Jamar Chase coming in and the effects that could bring. And Michael Pittman, I think, is just getting undersold entirely. And then I grabbed Travis Kelce in the first round, of course, and Gerald Everett. Love my team defenses with the Rams, the Dolphins, and the 49ers. I think I did land 3 top 10 to 12 defenses, and I think I am falling into that bucket where they get higher hit rates. I know it doesn't necessarily apply to these bigger tournaments, but I'm not I don't mind my team at all. I'm actually fine with my team. Are you on mute, Trev? Or am I on mute?
I was on mute. Yes, oh. I had a siren going by. I'm right on a hospital route here, so
call the police for my team. I was stealing robbing moves.
Whoop whoop! That's the sound of the police.
Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the beast.
Nice. My team. I will go through a little bit here. That quarterback, I have Jalen Hurts, Ryan Tannehill, and Trey Lance. I maybe reached a little bit on Jalen Hurts, and you actually did end up teaching me a couple things about stacking and where to take that quarterback. So, I reached and you teached a little bit, Ty, but I'm still happy with it. I still think he gives me the upside to make him worth that pick in the 6th round, I believe. Yes, the 6th round.
And it was the end, 6-9, yeah.
Yeah. And then at running back, I started with Derrick Henry in the 1st round. I took Travis Etienne in the 3rd, which
I think offsets Derrick Henry just really quickly, because I was surprised with Derrick Henry, just in the sense where in this tournament in particular, I'm not sure I really need that guy who I'm pretty sure will be a top 5 running back. I would prefer the guy I think can be the RB1 overall. Right. And it's kind of amazing that Derrick Henry has still barely been a top 5 running back, despite having some, he's kind of like the Aaron Rodgers of running backs, you know what I mean? So I just thought it was interesting because Alvin Kamara was on the board. And I think Alvin Kamara kind of has that RB1. He was the RB1 for a significant portion of last season.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was kind of interesting. But when you come back and you say that you have Travis Etienne on that team as well, I think it really balances that out, especially because you got Travis Etienne at the end of the 4th, right?
The end of the 4th. And the reason I went with Derrick Henry over Alvin Kamara, because Kamara was my other guy, was just the potential for Taysom Hill to really tank that running back target share for Alvin Kamara. He peppered Michael Thomas when he was in there, Taysom did, but we definitely saw a dip for Alvin Kamara. So that was the real thing that made me a little bit hesitant. And I knew I was going to be getting a workhorse running back. And I think just Derrick Henry is like the quintessential like workhorse running back, as opposed to the kind of like do it all predominantly pass catcher guy that I'm.
And maybe he catches 25 balls this year. You know what I mean? With all the
weapons a ton of weapons. Yeah, absolutely. And then at running back, I finished out with Damien Harris, Devin Singletary. I stacked Ramondre Stevenson with Damien Harris. And then I finished up with Todd Gurley in the last round, partially, Ty, just to spite you, but also partially because I think that he's going to be one of those guys that thinks he's still got it. So he's not going to sign to be a backup. He's going to sign somewhere where he's a shot to take some snaps. And I think his avenue for that, like I was saying, was at the goal line. And those are lucrative touches, regardless of the guy who's taking those lucrative touches having dust for knees. So I definitely don't mind the Todd Gurley pick there. At wide receiver, I was thrilled, Ty, to stack AJ Brown in the second with Derrick Henry in the first. You were saying that there might not be a lot of teams that have that stack just because where you usually have to take them. AJ Brown went a little bit later than expected. That is what we're gathering there.
And he's only moving up.
I love it, man. I really like it. And then behind AJ Brown, I got DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson to stack for that Carolina offense. And then I came back with Corey Davis, Jalen Reagor to stack with Jalen Hurts, and then T.Y. Hilton and Rashad Bateman, who I kind of think are both going to be the leading target getters on their team, save for maybe Mark Andrews in Baltimore, but I think Rashad Bateman's the highest targeted wide receiver. And then I did like the Corey Davis pick there just because I got him pretty late. I got him in the 10th round, and I think he projects to be the leading target getter on his team as well. So I'm pretty happy with that, Ty, and I'm not putting like the, best ball and win rate spin on it or anything, but I think I've got some good versatility there in guys who can give me some spike weeks with even T.Y. Hilton can still give me some spike weeks, Jalen Reagor, Corey Davis could, Robbie Anderson, you know what I mean? And then some solidified guys like AJ Brown, DJ Moore. So I'm straight with that. At tight end, I did a 2 tight end build, and I don't feel great about it because at the top I got Darren Waller, who I really like, but I didn't really stack
top targets on their team.
Yeah, totally. But I think the theory coming in stacking Anthony Ferkser with all the other Tennessee guys that I got, I like that, but I think I should have done something in between there where I got another solid tight end option, because if something happens to Waller, I'm fairly fucked at the tight end position with having just Anthony Ferkser.
But you are anyways in this tournament.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, pretty much. If I lose Darren Waller,
and that's what I mean with like hit rates and stuff, we definitely don't have to, abide by win rates and stuff like that as much in this tournament, just because, it is something that you're going to see abstract builds. You're going to do abstract builds, and you're just going to try different things as it goes along and see what works for you year after year.
Yeah, and so then to round it out, I got the B More Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs as my defenses. I got them in the 16th and 18th respectively, which I think was a decent recovery after seeing the defenses start to go in the 14th. Yeah, and then I think you almost you were just prior to, well, not a huge run, but I think those 2 in the 14th and your Rams pick really started other teams looking at those defenses. So I'm pretty happy with that, considering I only have 2 to have the 2 that I got.
And that's why I love doing these live best balls, so people can see that all these defenses do go off the board in the 16th, 17th round. It's not the 19th and 20th round, like you might hear on a lot of podcasts.
And which is good for somebody like myself, Ty, who I was saying I'm only doing about 10 best ball drafts a year or something like that, right? So it's just really important to soak that stuff in, because you're going to be so well versed in the ADPs. You're already so well versed in the ADPs for these guys. Whereas this is when I'm going to start diving into my best ball drafts. So it's good for me to know that. It's good to have you as a resource too, buddy. Let me tell you.
Now it's good to have things like RotoViz, right? That's what what I use for that roster construction stuff. Like when you're looking at, and like Blair Andrews and Jack Miller, like those guys have done great work. So I haven't had to, you know what I mean, about what the profitable plays are for these team defenses and stuff. And Mike Beers has built these tools on RotoViz, so I can just go on there and be like, oh, I wonder how successful this has been in the past. And
for sure,
it's really remarkable. The roster construction tool might be one of the things I would recommend the most about RotoViz.
Totally.
It's no fantasypoints.com when it comes to their people, but that one tool is sensational.
Absolutely. So who's going through Fugly God's team here?
You go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So Fugly God at the 5 overall took Najee Harris, which is a bit of a reach to say the least. I've got Najee Harris as my running back 11, so I definitely see him as a potential top 12 running back this season, but to take him at 5 over Kamara, Taylor, even Zeke, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Austin Eckler, that's spicy. That's pretty spicy.
And it comes into play that you're going to do multiple entries in tournaments like these more often than not. So, if you're picking 5th here, you might pick 9th the next time. Come on. No trolling. No trolling.
Second round, he took Kyle Pitts as the tight end 2, ahead of George Kittle and Darren Waller, which is definitely not something I would subscribe to. But like you said, it might just be a case of differentiation. In the third, he went Jamar Chase. In the fourth, he went CD Lamb. Flip-flop those two. Put CD in the third and Jamar Chase in the fourth, and I'm maybe more okay with that. But sorry, just had a little cough there. Had to mute myself.
That was good.
Yeah, so that's fine. Mike Davis in the fifth is probably like top end, but we like Mike Davis around these parts. Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow back to back in the sixth and the seventh. A lot of upside. You were saying that Joe Burrow is probably pretty high at the seventh round there.
Yeah, that's way too high. Because you're already getting the injury discount and some of the offensive line concerns. Like you're getting that already baked into his price in the 8th, 9th round or the 10th round where he goes usually. So the 7th round just seems like unnecessary, just another troll job. Yeah.
And then Michael Carter in the 8th, which is, if you're expecting him to be the guy who takes the full running back role in the Jets, fine, whatever. Because you were saying that you personally have been liking to get Trey Sermon in the 8th round. And if somebody is in the belief of Michael Carter being the main guy for the Jets, I don't see an issue with him going in the 8th, but I don't know if I see that for him.
Yeah. And just like a guy that's going to be hard to calibrate all offseason, I think he might go in a 7th or 8th round here, and he might go in like an 11th round in another draft for sure. Like Michael Carter is going to have a lot of deviation in his average draft position in all formats. Yeah.
Jerry Jeudy in the 9th, Curtis Samuel in the 10th. I like both of those picks. The 11th is where it gets extra weird here, Ty, with the Chuba Hubbard pick.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, where are you seeing Chuba Hubbard even go in the drafts that you are doing? Or
yeah, I mean, he gets drafted a lot of the times. Another guy's gonna have lots of deviation, but he can go undrafted in these best balls at times.
Yeah.
Like we can look at where he usually goes, like, and this will factor in. So he took him in the 11th round, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So his ADP isn't even that high, factoring in all the drafts before the NFL draft, like all the best balls where he was going in like the 9th to 12th round consistently. Yeah.
Right. And so Johnny Smith in the 12th, Cornell Powell in the 13th, who could be anywhere
doesn't get drafted very often.
Could be anywhere from 3rd to 7th on the target totem pole on the Chiefs. And I would say we probably lean more towards 7th than 3rd. So that was interesting pick there. I don't want to dog this guy too much anymore, Ty. It's we've already kind of called out the puzzlers. Amon-Ra in the 18th is actually a decent pick for him, so I'll give him that.
He kept going rookie there too. I think he took our boy. I think he took the good
Josh
Canadian
Palmer represent.
He's already making waves too in that building for real.
Totally, and it's going to be an interesting watch because Julio Jones to the Chargers is some talk that some people are throwing out there, and I think that would not bode well, obviously, for Josh Palmer. But I'm kind of hoping he doesn't go there because Mike Williams' role is ripe for the taking, and I would love to see Josh Palmer rise into that.
Yeah. Who was Cornell Powell? That's the guy I want to see. So Powell. So he is getting drafted very little. I think he's been drafted 4 times out of about 200 and something drafts here that I'm looking at.
Yeah,
that's not good. I want to see Chuba. So Chuba has an ADP of, oh, wow. So he still has an ADP of 150 something. I think there's a lot of auto drafts that would factor into that. But still, so that's what the end of that's like 13th round. That's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't seem right. And this is post NFL draft. This is month to date ADP that I'm looking at. It says that he's gone as early as 97 and as late as 237. So
yeah. Pretty wide range for him.
It's going ahead of Fields.
Interesting. Right on, man. Well, that was really fucking fun, dude. I had an enjoyable time doing that. So I'm glad we jumped on for it. I'm glad the time worked out for us to get here. So I appreciate you carving the time out too, Ty. Just want to thank anybody who was listening. Follow us at True North FFB on Twitter. I am at TCL14. Ty is at TNFF Tyrell. What else we got, Ty? We got lots of stuff in the works with the team. I put out a tweet today, Ty, just recognizing all the team writers, which was I tagged a bunch of the tagged all of them to make sure people follow them, and then I posted some recent articles. So if anyone wants to see kind of a hub spot for some of the recent articles coming out of the True North team, which have been fantastic, go to my Twitter page, and I just put a little shout out to the team on there today. And yeah, things are just bumping on that front, dude. I know you're busy as all hell, keeping the content train rolling. This is kind of an off schedule record that we did. You got a couple more episodes with me taking a little bit of time off just to work on the new site that we're building, which we're excited about. So I'm really excited to watch your next couple episodes. You got Tom Brawley and Scott Barrett to kind of spill the milk here on the next 2 consecutive episodes, and it's gonna be cool to listen to you guys work, dude, because
it'll be a lot of them, so I think it'll be refreshing for people
totally
who are sick of hearing my super annoying voice.
Well, no, it's good, man. It's good. I like when you let the AK spray, and I think when you
I think I'll have a hard time. I think I definitely agree with a lot of what Scott says. I think Scott is very approachable in that sense, where when you talk to him, you can float ideas back and forth. I enjoyed our conversation with him greatly. Tom Brawley, I kind of am still in starstruck mode, so I'm probably just going to interview him more or less because he is just a dearth of betting knowledge. And a dearth of betting knowledge means you have a dearth of knowledge about every aspect of every team. And it just blows my mind that people like Tom Brawley, Warren Sharp, can really harness that much information. And I'm going to go get it out of them.
Yeah, go get it, girl. I don't know. I was just get my snaps on for a sec there. No, you're doing a great job. And this week you had our boys from the True North team, Brian and Alice, on. So anybody, make sure to go check that out. Check out the other shows too. Like I said, we recorded this Friday night. Our man Jules on the Point After had a nice show today. The Gold Jacket boys, Connor and Jimmy, had a nice episode earlier this week. So yeah, just make sure you subscribe to the make sure you subscribe to the TNFF network.
Sorry, I was just going to say the Gold Jackets pod was with Edwin. That was just a spectacular show. And I haven't watched Jules' show just because we're getting ready for this, and you saw my big giant fat pasta that I was working on. So I am very much looking forward to that because they're having the Victoria on,
Victoria from Ball Blast.
Yeah, and she is really good. So I'm excited to watch that one.
I caught a little bit beforehand, and they were in mid-pod form, you know what I mean? Just ripping right at the start. So it was good. I'm going to go back and watch that as well. And then don't forget about the Smoke Show too. Our man, Josh Smoky Hill Nelson, also a part of the Fantasy Points Media Group. So, and
Scott Fishbowl.
Yeah. And he just got his SFB ticket. So congratulations, Charlie. You got your golden ticket. So I think that's enough of us rambling. Hey, Ty, for everybody listening, make sure you go to fantasypoints.com and subscribe with the promo code 21 True North 10. I won't be back this coming Thursday, but Ty will be back killing it with Tom Brawley. Make sure you subscribe to the network on YouTube and Twitch and on all your favorite audio platforms. Until then, Ty will see you, and I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks, and then you can find me on Twitter otherwise.